Well, welcome back to MINITAB 5 Help. This is part 2. And in this part, we're going to continue to work on creating a really good document and doing the problems for MINITAB 5. And if you remember last time, I had just made the probability plot and box plot of our battery life data. Of course, I'm using data that's not the data in your MINITAB, but something parallel so you can see how to work your MINITAB assignment. So here we're going to go, and I'm going to show you how you can very nicely copy and paste the graph into your document. And now again, this is my way to do it. I'm not telling you you have to do it this way, but I'm just kind of giving you how I do it. It might not be the most efficient, but it makes for a decently looking nice document. I open an Excel file, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my probability plot, and I'm going to make sure I touch it. I'm going to do Control-C to copy that graph. I'm going to go back into my Excel file, and I'm going to paste that graph right into the Excel file. When I do that, I can size this nicely so that I can put it into my MINITAB assignment. So I can make it about that big so I can see everything and see that, yeah, the plot is linear. What I'm going to do is I'm going to copy both of these side by side and put those into my document. Oops. You copy, and now I'm ready to put it into my MINITAB assignment document. Because they asked me in Part A to do the probability plot and the other. So I'm going to put it in here, and again, I'm just trying to make sure that I have the room that I need in here. But here's my probability plot and box plot that I'm going to put into my Word. And if you want to, you can get rid of all these little lines in here just by cutting them or deleting them. If you want to, it doesn't matter. They won't show up when you print the document. And now, by looking at that, I need to answer the question that was asked in the MINITAB assignment. So you could write something like this. Not exactly, I mean, use your own words, but something to the effect, since the probability plot does not indicate any major deviations from normality, and the box plot doesn't indicate that there are any outliers, we can reasonably use the T procedure. Something to that effect will let you know that you've looked at the box plot, you see that it's rather linear, that you've checked for outliers, and so we can assume normality. And there's no outliers, so the T procedures can be used. So back to the questions. Part B says, if your conclusion in Part A is yes, that we can use the T procedures, give the 95% confidence interval for the mean, in this case conductivity, we're doing an example for battery life, and then copy and paste the MINITAB commands you used and the results found in the sessions window after your answer, and then do the interpretation for a 95% confidence interval in a complete and coherent sentence in the context of the problem. So you can't just say, here's the interval is this. That's not in the context of the problem, and you will lose points if you do it that way. There are 3 different ways that we do confidence interval interpretations in this class. Pretty cookbooky, but we want you to use those. I generally like a little bit of individuality, but in this case, use what we tell you or you'll have points taken off. So from our MINITAB commands, we know that we put in here 1T, and our data is in column 1. And now we let it know we want to do a 90% confidence interval. So we're going to say confidence 90. Okay, or whatever confidence level that's asked for, and I think we do 90, 95. So the first thing is we want to copy and paste our commands and then give the confidence interval in our document. So I'm going to copy and paste these commands, put them in my document after I do my interpretation. So I'm just going to copy those and pull my document around. Now I've already written in one type of interpretation. Remember, there are 3 of them. You can find them on the PowerPoint, but this is just one of them. And I do Control-V in here, and there's all my commands. And I can make them, I can center them and make them look very nice. I can tab them over to do this. Move them over. Whoops, one too many. So I've got something that looks pretty nice in there. I've given my interpretation, and I've given my given the commands and the output, the results in MINITAB. So let's say Part C wanted a 80% confidence interval. We could do that. If you wanted to be fast, you could just copy and paste this command and change the 90 to 80. And now you're ready to get your confidence interval in here. Whoops, we'll get the same one. And there's 80. and then hit enter. Now, what you guys can do is when you go back into your document, and make sure you go into your document, you could literally copy and paste this right in here. And so you would just change the numbers in here and your confidence level, so it makes it a little easier for you to do. I'm actually going to show you another interpretation, so I'm going to mess around with this, and just so that you can see all the different interpretations in this second. So it would look something like this for the 80% confidence interval for this problem. And then there's the other interpretation that you could have used that looks like so again, you could use this third type of confidence interval interpretation. So I gave you all three that you could possibly use to interpret, so use whichever one you're most comfortable with. So now we're going to go into, again, if your conclusion to part A was yes, do the data give convincing evidence that well, in this one we have a specific a problem. I'm going to make one up for our battery life. So now let's say this was the question that you saw for D at a 0.05 significance level. Is there evidence to support the claim that the mean battery life for these 5th generation iPod batteries is greater than 9.1 hours? Now it's time for us to do the hypothesis test. So let's see how we're to proceed on this. To do this hypothesis test, we have to state we're going to do I, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to 7 in little Roman letters, numerals. We're going to state the alternative, the null alternative, the significance levels, and so forth. So we're going to answer these questions, and I'll show you how to do that. So in here, I'm going to go, whoops, didn't want to do that. I'm going to do enter and make sure that we're in black font now, because I put that in blue just to say, hey, that's the question. But it's not part E. We want to hit going in here and make that I. We're supposed to state the null and alternative hypothesis. So in complete sentence, we'd say the null and alternative hypothesis are. And now let's do this nicely. We're going to do H naught mu equal, and remember our null hypothesis was 9.1 versus our alternative HA. And now I'm going to show you another way. Let's start off with this one. I can subscript this O either by touching this right here, or another way I can do subscripts, because we have to subscript the A here. You can do Control Shift and the plus mark. Sorry, wrong one. Control A, and you'll subscript the A. And if I want to insert a mu, well, here I can just change the font. This is one way I can change the font to get mu. I go to symbol, or I can actually insert the symbol of mu by hitting my insert here and saying I want the symbol mu. I'm sorry, when I'm in this Camtasia, it makes the cursor go very slow. So I have mu, and then remember we wanted to see if the battery life is greater than 9 hours, so that's a right-tailed test, greater than 9.1 hours. So there's my null and alternative hypothesis, written very nicely with the symbols to make our document look nice. The next thing was to state the alternative, the significance level. And in this case, it's 0.05, period. We've done that in a complete sentence. And now they want us to state the test statistic. And then that's when we're going to return, and because we're going to go into part 3 of MINITAB 5, and we're going to return and show you how to do the commands in MINITAB so you can get the test statistic, the p-value, whether you're going to reject or not reject, so we can finish the problem. So I'll see you back in part 3.